The courtyard of our modest estate should have been a safe haven, a symbol of the love I fought the world for. Instead, on that rainy autumn night, beneath the flickering glow of a soaked paper lantern, it became my death chamber. I, Lin Ruyu, daughter of the Prime Minister, had defied the Imperial court, choosing the brilliant but humble scholar Li Wei over a princely fiancé. I believed our love was stronger than status. I was a fool. The cough came first, a raw, tearing sound that stole my breath. Then the coldness that seeped into my bones even beside a blazing fire. Li Wei had dismissed it as a simple cold, murmuring soothing words about my delicate constitution. Now, as my vision blurred and the pain twisted my stomach, his face was stripped bare of kindness. He stood over me not with concern but with the cold, detached gaze of a victor. Beside him, Meilon, his concubine, the woman he claimed was a gentle, sickly relative, was radiant. She held the true symbol of his power, an ancient dark imperial seal wrapped in faded yellow silk. "You played your part beautifully, Ruyu," Meilon purred, her delicate voice now venomous. "You provided the high-born life energy and the political cover Li Wei needed to finally awaken his true power." I could barely whisper. You hid your royal lineage?" The exile's line. Li Wei's handsome features hardened into a regal sneer. "Lin Ruyu, I am the true descendant of the preceding dynasty. Your family's wealth funded my rise, and your life force broke the curse of the Shadow Throne just enough for me to move. You were merely a beautiful, necessary tool. My world shattered. My selfless love was a transaction. My devotion a political shield. My high birth a battery for a curse. The man I sacrificed my family and reputation for was not a humble scholar, but a ruthless pretender who used my death to seize a crown." As the darkness swallowed my pain, my last searing memory was Meilon leaning in, her breath cold on my ear. "He is free now thanks to you. And I will sit beside him as empress. Prince Jing Shen Yu will never see us coming." The reigning power. The man Li Wei was plotting to overthrow. I died with the rain on my face, choking on my own betrayal. I swore a silent oath into the cold earth. "I will return. I will expose your hidden royal blood, Scholar Li Wei, and marry the true power you fear. You will not only lose the throne, but you will live to see me ascend it with the man you tried to murder." Then the world twisted. The suffocating pain vanished. I gasped, sucking in cool, clean air. I was in my own chamber, lying on my silk-draped bed. The rain outside was gentle, not screaming. I looked at the intricately carved calendar on the desk. The first day of the 3rd month. 3 months before the wedding. 3 months before I chose love and sealed my own destruction. The engagement token, a jade clasp Li Wei had given me, felt like a viper in my hand. "I'm not a tool, Li Wei. I am a storm you never anticipated." Thank you for joining us on this journey. Tell me where you're watching from and what the weather's like today. Cloud with rain, sun. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. It really helps this channel grow and keeps the stories coming. I sat on the edge of the bed, the embroidered sheets soft beneath my hands, feeling nothing but a glacial clarity. The terrifying, choking death I had suffered was just moments ago, yet here I was back in my sun-drenched chamber, 3 months before the poison would take hold. This was not a dream. This was a second fate. The beautiful jade clasp, the one Li Wei had given me as an engagement token, lay heavy in my palm. Before it symbolized his dedication. A humble scholar spending his meager earnings on a precious gift. Now I saw it for what it truly was. A carefully chosen piece of stone meant to keep my affections locked down while he secretly secured his cursed royal lineage. The sight of it made me sick. I had to move faster than the gossip of the capital. My priority was not revenge but self-preservation, which ironically, was the sharpest revenge of all. My first mistake was trusting the smooth tongue of a commoner who was hiding a king's ambition. My second would be wasting another day. I stood and walked to the lacquered vanity, ignoring the maid who jumped to attention. The face reflected back was the same, the delicate features of Lin Ruyu, the Prime Minister's daughter, but the eyes were utterly changed. The naive girl was gone, replaced by the ghost who remembered her own murder. My parents were the key. Before, their stern opposition to Li Wei had pushed me closer to him. This time I needed their complete support to execute the most dangerous, drastic act. Breaking the engagement. That evening I found my father, the Prime Minister, in his study, the air thick with the scent of ink and ambition. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I presented my case with the cold logic of a seasoned court official. Father, I began, my voice steady, surprising even myself. I made a grave error in judgment regarding scholar Li Wei. His ambition is not for scholarship but for power. A dangerous, unstable power that risks our entire clan's standing. My father, Lord Lin, looked up, surprised by my sudden maturity. Ruyu? You fought me for this man. I was blind, father. Now I see. His lack of a strong background is not a virtue, but a weakness that makes him volatile. He has nothing to lose, and in his desperation he will risk everything, including the Lin family name. I have had visions, disturbing glimpses of his true nature. I paused, letting the fear sink into him. I couldn't tell him about the rebirth or the curse, but I could weaponize his paranoia. I took the jade clasp and placed it on his desk, the stone cold against the dark wood. He speaks too often of the fallen dynasty, father. He asks too many questions about the old Imperial seals. He is not loyal to the current emperor. This struck a nerve. Loyalty was everything in the capital. Lord Lin's eyes narrowed. What proof do you have of such treasonous thought? None that would satisfy the courts, but enough to satisfy my fear. He wants to use our family's influence as a ladder. If he fails, our heads roll with his. I wish to dissolve this engagement immediately, quietly, and secure an alliance that guarantees the safety and honor of the Lin clan. My father looked at the discarded jade, then back at me, seeing the steel in my gaze instead of the former childish obstinance. For the first time he saw a political equal. And what alliance would satisfy you, Ruyu? He asked, testing me. I met his gaze, the image of Prince Jing, Shen Yu, the stern, righteous figure of established power, filling my mind. He was the one Li Wei feared, the one he planned to depose. He was my safety and my destiny. I wished to marry into the most stable branch of the Imperial family. I wished to propose a marriage alliance with Prince Jing, I stated simply. The air in the study thickened instantly. Prince Jing was the Emperor's loyal right hand, a man of unyielding duty and martial power. He was an intimidating match, not a romantic one, but he was safe. My father let out a slow, considering breath, a rare expression of relief and calculated approval washing over his face. Prince Jing, he murmured. A formidable choice. Ambitious but loyal. It would stabilize the entire government. He rose, picking up the jade clasp. Li Wei will not let go easily. He has already started to rely on our resources. He will be paid handsomely for his loss, I said, a cruel, cold smile touching my lips. A bribe that will silence his tongue, but not cure the gaping wound of lost opportunity. Let him believe I am trading up for position. Let him think I am a shallow woman he can scorn. I will give him all the reason he needs to hate me so that he never suspects I know the truth. The unraveling had begun. In one conversation I traded a curse for a crown. Now I just had to secure the agreement of the most powerful, unreadable man in the empire. The engagement with Scholar Li Wei was dissolved 3 days later. It was quick, clinical, and handled with the Prime Minister's customary efficiency. Li Wei accepted a generous financial settlement, my family's gold, with a veneer of wounded dignity, but I saw the flare of cold fury in his eyes. He thought I was being a shallow, typical highborn woman, abandoning a man for higher status. Good. Let him underestimate the depth of my knowledge. My next mission was infinitely more difficult, securing the alliance with Prince Jing Shen Yu. He was a man renowned for his austerity and his intense loyalty to the current emperor. He had no concubines, no mistresses, and no use for courtly charm. He was pure, unyielding steel. The meeting was arranged in the secluded plum blossom pavilion within the Imperial gardens. The air was crisp, the pavilion bathed in the cool, distant light of a winter moon, mirroring the man I was about to face. When Shen Yu arrived, he didn't glide, he commanded. Dressed in the severe, deep blue robes of a high-ranking prince, his presence was a physical weight in the room. His features were handsome but formidable, etched with the burden of command. He did not smile. He merely gave a curt, respectful nod. Lady Lin, my father, the emperor, granted this audience at your family's request. What proposal is so urgent that it requires my time tonight? His voice was low, resonating with a practiced authority. I knew a romantic gesture would insult him. He needed logic, stability, and mutual benefit. I had to appeal to his duty, not his heart. I didn't sit. I bowed low and then stood tall, meeting his steady, intense gaze. Your Royal Highness. I come not as a foolish woman who broke her engagement, but as the daughter of the Prime Minister, and a messenger of stability for the Empire. He raised one dark, skeptical eyebrow, an expression that told me he was unimpressed by courtly pretense. Speak plainly, Lady Lin. I have little patience for flowery language. Then I shall speak of treason, I said, the word dropping into the silent air like a stone. His eyes narrowed slightly, the first genuine change in his expression. I felt a spike of fear, but the memory of Li Wei's cold sneer fueled my courage. The man I was engaged to, Scholar Li Wei, is a fraud. He hid a powerful treasonous royal lineage from the previous dynasty, and he harbors an unyielding ambition for the dragon throne. He plans to utilize his hidden resources and my family's influence to stage a coup against the emperor. Shen Yu remained unervingly still. Bold claims. Why tell me this now? And why did you choose him in the first place if you suspected this? I was naive, I admitted, my shame a valuable weapon. I believed in a lie called love, and I paid for that blindness with 3 years of my future self's life. A life Li Wei planned to drain until it broke his cursed claim on the throne. I only realized the true depth of his deceit just this week, realizing he was asking too many specific questions about the Imperial family's ancestral rights. I didn't blink. I wove my foresight into a believable pattern of belated realization. If you dissolve your engagement and walk away, why involve the Imperial family? Why not simply let your family quietly cut ties? This was the crux of the deal. I leaned forward slightly, lowering my voice. Because, Your Highness, quiet withdrawal is not enough. Li Wei is desperate and dangerous. If I remain unmarried, he will pursue me again for my family's political weight. The only way to stop his claim, stabilize the court, and cut off his single greatest resource is to marry into a higher, established power. A power he cannot touch. I paused, then delivered the final, calculated stroke. I offer you my complete loyalty, my family's unmatched political intelligence, and the full weight of the Prime Minister's resources, instantly stabilizing any rumor of conflict. All in exchange for the protection of your name. I will be your most devoted consort, Your Highness, but I do not ask for your love. I ask for your trust and the certainty of your power. Shen Yu was silent for a long moment. He looked past me, his gaze fixed on the cold, beautiful plum blossoms, perhaps contemplating the weight of the throne itself. He wasn't looking at me as a woman, but as a strategic piece on the Imperial chessboard. Finally, he looked back, his eyes like polished obsidian. Lady Lin, you speak of treason and power with a chilling lack of emotion for one who was supposedly so naive. You speak like a general, not a gentlewoman. A gentlewoman who learned that a gentle heart is a liability in this palace, I countered, letting a fraction of my remembered bitterness show. I seek only to reclaim my own agency and ensure that a man who plots to use me never gets a second chance to do so. A faint, almost imperceptible ghost of approval crossed his face. He extended a hand, picking up a single fallen plum blossom. The arrangement will be purely political, Lady Lin, Shen Yu stated, his tone final. You will be my consort, and you will uphold your duty to the Empire and the Emperor. In return, I will shield you from every shadow Li Wei casts. I will provide you with the power to ensure the man who sought to destroy you kneels before my court. Do you understand the gravity of this oath? I do, Your Highness, I replied, a fierce, cold triumph swelling in my chest. I'm not a victim anymore, Li Wei. I am his empress. I accept the gravity of your protection. The emperor's decree arrived with the speed of a striking viper. The wedding between Prince Jing, Shen Yu, and Lin Ruyu was to take place in a month, bypassing traditional mourning periods, a clear political maneuver designed to stabilize the court against any unseen threats. The capital was set ablaze with gossip. Lin Ruyu, the daring beauty who chased a commoner, was now marrying the empire's most formidable prince. They called it opportunism, I called it survival. My life transformed overnight. I moved from my father's opulent, sheltered estate to the silent, grand residence of Prince Jing. The atmosphere was one of quiet, rigid duty. My chamber was not filled with flowers and sweet perfumes, but with the scent of sandalwood and polished brass. It was cold, formal, and utterly wonderfully safe. I saw Li Wei only once before the wedding. He was waiting near the gates of my former home, pretending to be studying a scholar's calligraphy on a nearby signpost. He looked haggard, his usually smooth robes wrinkled. He was relying on the strength of my love and resources, and the abrupt termination had obviously stunned him. "Ruyu," he murmured, stepping into my path, his voice low and wounded, designed to pull at the guilt I no longer possessed. "How could you? After everything we promised? You trade love for a title?" I stopped, my escort of guards creating an immediate, impassable barrier between us. I met his eyes, those eyes that had sworn eternal devotion while plotting my death, and offered him a smile that felt like ice. "Scholar Li Wei," I said, using his humble false title. I realized that the weight of the Prime Minister's daughter requires a man with substance, not mere dreams. "Prince Jing offers stability, you offer scandal. I chose the empire over a delusion." The mask of the wounded lover cracked. A flash of pure, naked hatred, the same look I remembered from the night of my death, leapt into his eyes. He realized with crushing certainty that I was gone. His precious political asset was now married to his nemesis. "You will regret this, Lin Ruyu. Your marriage to that stone of a prince will be a cold, empty cage," he hissed, his voice trembling with suppressed royal rage. "A cage made of Imperial steel," I replied calmly, turning my back on him. "It seems far more reliable than your promises, scholar." I walked away without looking back, leaving him shattered and humiliated on the street. The first step of my karmic role reversal was complete. The night before the wedding, I received a visitor. Not Prince Jing, but a maid carrying a basket of rare white silk flowers. My favorites. The card was signed not by Li Wei but by Mei Lan, his so-called sickly relative. "To the bride, may your beauty light up the prince's palace. I hope these simple flowers bring you the joy you deserve." The message was seemingly sweet, but it chilled me to the bone. I remembered the cold smugness on Mei Lan's face as she watched me die. This was not a token of goodwill. This was a marker. She was reminding me that she was still here, still close to Li Wei and still plotting. I dismissed the maid and examined the flowers. They were beautiful, but my foresight screamed a warning. I picked up a petal and, with trembling fingers, squeezed it between my thumb and forefinger. The faint, almost imperceptible scent that rose was not that of silk or blossom. It was the faint floral aroma of moon petal poison, a slow-acting toxin that mimics consumption and leaves no trace in the body until it's too late. The very poison that killed me in my past life. She is moving faster this time. She knew I had broken the engagement, and she correctly feared that my marriage to Prince Jing would completely destabilize Li Wei's plot. The only way forward for them was to remove me immediately. I carefully sealed the basket and called my most trusted personal guard, the one I brought from my father's household. "Take this basket of flowers," I commanded, my voice flat. "Deliver it personally to the laundry quarters. Tell the head laundress that they are highly prized, and they must be crushed and boiled to make a medicinal tonic for the servants who are feeling poorly. Ensure she uses every single petal." The guard, a stern man named Qin, looked confused but obedient. He knew better than to question my abrupt and strange requests lately. I watched him go, feeling the cold weight of the emperor's wedding robes hanging on the screen behind me. They tried to kill me with the same poison, hoping the stress of the wedding would mask the symptoms. "You will not use my death as a shortcut to your crown again, Mei Lan. I know your game, and I will use your own poisonous methods against you." My agency was no longer just about securing a husband. It was about ensuring the survival of those who tried to serve me, and setting the first trap for the cunning rival who thought I was still vulnerable. The wedding was not a celebration of love, but a breathtaking display of imperial power. I wore the heaviest robes of my life, crimson silk embroidered with the nine-tailed phoenix, the symbol of a crown princess consort. The weight was grounding, the formality a fortress. I was no longer the foolish girl chasing a scholar. I was becoming the wife of the emperor's chosen protector. I walked the length of the grandest hall in the Forbidden City, the path lined with silent, watchful officials and nobles. I did not look at the faces in the crowd, not until I reached the vast dais where Prince Jing Shen Yu stood waiting. He was in full ceremonial armor and robes, a figure of stoic, unyielding majesty. He looked at me with the same steady, measured gaze he had shown in the Plum Blossom Pavilion, respectful, acknowledging, but utterly devoid of passion. It was exactly what I needed. Passion was what killed me before. Our vows were before the emperor himself, a ritual of duty and loyalty. I spoke my promises clearly, vowing to uphold the dignity of the Imperial family and support my husband in all his endeavors. Every word was true. I would support him because his power was now my shield. When the ceremony concluded, we shared the traditional wine, a silent, formal promise of unity. My hand, resting lightly on his armored sleeve, felt the solid reality of his presence. This was my sanctuary. This was the man who would make Li Wei kneel. The true test came during the reception banquet. As the new princess consort, I stood beside Shen Yu, accepting the flow of obligatory felicitations. The hall was a sea of silk, jade, and poisonous whispers. Then the murmuring stopped. A cold wave of tension washed over the room. My heart, which I thought had turned to stone, gave a sharp, painful lurch. He was here. Scholar Li Wei entered the hall, ostensibly invited as a low-ranking, newly enriched official, a courtesy my family had insisted upon to keep up appearances. He was accompanied, of course, by Mei Lan, draped in the most expensive, yet still inferior, silks she could afford. Li Wei's eyes found mine instantly. They burned with a savage mixture of jealousy, humiliation, and raw royal fury. He hadn't just lost a bride. He had lost the gateway to the throne, and the woman who now held the key was standing beside his greatest rival. As they approached for the formal greeting, Mei Lan played her role perfectly. She looked pale, delicate, and overcome by the grandeur, leaning heavily on Li Wei's arm. She was the picture of the victim, subtly conveying that she was the one who had suffered at the hands of the arrogant highborn Ruyu. Li Wei bowed low, a perfect display of deference to Prince Jing, but his gaze was fixed on me, a promise of violence held in check only by the prince's presence. "A profound honor, your royal highness," he murmured to Shen Yu. "My deepest congratulations to you and the new princess consort." Shen Yu merely nodded, a calm steel wall. "Scholarly. Your presence is noted." Then Li Wei turned to me, his lips curving into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Princess Consort Ryu. You look radiant. I hope your new position brings you the happiness I once promised. You always deserved a grand stage." It was a veiled threat and a public mockery, implying I was always vain and he was the one who truly saw me. I met his gaze, my hand moving slightly to rest on the dragon embroidery of Shen Yu's sleeve. I remembered the scent of moon petal poison, the cold stone floor, and his betrayal. I felt no pity. "Thank you, scholarly," I replied, my voice smooth and perfectly pitched to carry. "You are correct. I do indeed deserve a grand stage. A woman of my standing deserves a husband who values honesty and loyalty over personal ambition. I have found both in Prince Jing." I didn't stop there. I looked pointedly at Mei Lan, whose eyes were wide and filled with practiced distress. "And I hope you, scholarly, find someone in your life who offers you true support, rather than someone who only offers feigned delicacy and questionable silk flowers. Do take better care of your health." The air in the room froze. The reference to questionable silk flowers was too specific to be accidental, a direct, public challenge only Mei Lan would understand. Her delicate facade flickered, revealing a terrifying glimpse of the snake beneath. She realized I knew about the poison. Before Li Wei could recover from my insult, I subtly shifted my weight, prompting Shen Yu to act. "The princess consort and I have many duties this evening," Shen Yu stated, his hand resting authoritatively on the small of my back. "Scholarly concubine Mei, you may take your leave." It was a dismissal. Li Wei, the man who secretly held a royal seal and plotted to take the throne, was publicly and unequivocally dismissed by the reigning power. He bowed again, the humiliation burning in his eyes, and led Mei Lan away, her serpent's gaze fixed on my retreating back. I had married the true king, and the pretender was forced to kneel before my power. The wedding night was as political as our courtship. Prince Jing Shen Yu was a man of principle. After the formalities, he made his position clear. "Princess consort, our alliance is built on duty and stability. I will not approach your chamber until I am certain you are here by choice, not coercion. And until we have fully neutralized this threat you speak of." I was relieved. My own heart was still too fractured for intimacy. I needed time and focus. "Your Highness, your respect honors me. I ask only for the authority of your seal. I need to prove that Li Wei is more than a disgruntled scholar. He is a threat to the empire." He placed his own private seal, a symbol of supreme authority, on my desk. "Use my resources, princess." I trust your intuition. Find the proof. With the immense power of Prince Jing behind me, I initiated my attack. My former life of ignorance was a roadmap to his current crimes. I knew exactly what he was protecting. My first target was Li Wei's family estate, which he claimed was a humble, secluded ancestral home. Using Prince Jing's covert investigative network, I sent trusted guards, not to raid but to secure a potentially dangerous cache of artifacts he was smuggling. This was not a search, it was a strategically placed threat. Within days, a coded report returned to my private chambers. My intuition was devastatingly accurate. Hidden within a sealed-off cellar beneath Li Wei's humble home, my guards found not just old scrolls, but two critical pieces of evidence. The true Imperial seal, not the one used by the current dynasty, but the dark, heavy seal of the exiled Li dynasty, the one Meilong had brandished on the night of my death. It was the undeniable proof of his hidden royal lineage. The Ledger of Sacrifice, a meticulously kept ledger dating back decades, detailing the deaths of high-born noblewomen who had married into Li Wei's scholar line. It wasn't just my name in the book, it was a horrifying list of previous wives, each labeled with a timestamp and a note. Spiritual energy consumed. Curse temporarily stabilized. The entries confirmed the existence of the curse of the Shadow Throne, which required the life force of a pure-hearted high-born woman to sustain Li Wei's life and power. I sat in my grand empty chamber, reading the Ledger of Sacrifice, and the cold triumph I felt before gave way to a fresh wave of grief. I wasn't the first victim, just the last one who was given a chance to fight back. I presented the evidence, the Imperial seal and the ledger, to Shen Yu that same night. We met in his private study, the only sound the crackling of the winter fire. Shen Yu, the man of rigid control, examined the seal. His face was grim, his jaw tight. When he read the ledger, detailing the slow, agonizing deaths of innocent women for the sake of one man's monstrous ambition, his control finally broke. He is not merely a traitor, Shen Yu stated, his voice a low, dangerous rumble. He is a leech, consuming the lives of others to fuel his false claim. This is an attack on the very concept of the divine mandate. He needed a pure-blooded noble to stabilize the curse, Your Highness, I explained, pointing to the entry with my name, the one that never reached its completion. He hid his royal lineage because he needed to appear harmless, and he needed the political reach of the Prime Minister's daughter to set his final plan in motion. And the moon petal poison, Shen Yu realized, his gaze snapping to mine. The sickly tonic the court physician kept administering to the previous wives. You knew about the poison because you saw it used on yourself. I met his gaze, finally letting the full truth of my foresight rest between us. Yes, Your Highness. I did not survive my choice in the previous fate. That is why I had to secure an alliance with you. The man who tried to murder me for a crown now plots against my husband, who holds the true throne. Shen Yu looked at the seal, then at the ledger, and finally his eyes rested on me. The sternness was replaced by a profound, protective respect. He saw not a shrewd politician, but a survivor who had crawled out of hell to protect her new destiny. Princess Consort Ruyu, he said, using my full honored title with a new depth of reverence. Your courage is terrifying. We will not let him consume another life, nor will we allow his poisoned lineage to touch the dragon throne. He rose, his expression hard as the armor he wore. With this proof, Li Wei will be exposed as the royal traitor he is, and his life's ambition will be ground into the dust. He will be stripped of everything he stole, and his loyalists will fall with him. The moment was silent, heavy with consequence. My goal was within reach. Li Wei's utter ruin, not by accident but by the weight of the true imperial power, the power I now shared. The fall of scholar Li Wei was orchestrated with the precision of a war campaign. Armed with the imperial seal and the damning ledger of sacrifice, Prince Jing Shen Yu moved decisively. It was decreed that Li Wei would stand trial for high treason against the imperial house and for the crime of abusing the divine mandate. The public trial was held in the largest open court, witnessed by every official, noble, and the fearful public. Shen Yu, standing resolute beside the emperor, presented the evidence. The moment the ancient dark seal of the exiled dynasty was displayed, the collective gasp of the court was deafening. Li Wei's facade shattered completely. He was dragged to the floor, no longer the charming scholar but a desperate, furious traitor. He is not merely a usurper. I heard Shen Yu declare, his voice ringing with absolute authority. He used the lives of highborn women, including my wife, Princess Consort Lin Ruyu, as fuel for an ancient curse. He sought to drain the life force of the pure-hearted for his own monstrous ambition. As the horrific truth of the ledger was read, name after name of innocent women consumed by his curse, the court turned from shock to righteous fury. I sat in the elevated royal viewing box, a beautiful solemn figure beside the Empress Dowager. I looked down at Li Wei, who lay sprawled on the stone floor, his entire life's ambition collapsing around him. He finally looked up at me, his eyes blazing with pure, unrestrained hate. But this time his hate was meaningless. It was contained, powerless and futile. I had already won. The final, bitter dose of justice came for Mei Lan. After Li Wei's initial testimony, the investigation pivoted to his accomplice. Mei Lan, still maintaining her air of delicate sickness, was brought before the court. She claimed she was merely an innocent woman manipulated by a political scheme, but I was ready. I stepped forward, my crimson robes flowing with the movement, demanding the court's attention. Your Majesty, I have one final piece of evidence regarding the innocence of concubine Mei Lan. A guard brought forward a sealed box. Inside lay the withered, dried moon petal poison flowers, disguised as a tonic, that I had intercepted on my wedding eve. I had not destroyed them entirely, I had preserved enough for chemical analysis. This is the very poison Scholar Li used to induce the consumption that ended the lives of his previous wives, including the death he planned for me, I announced clearly. And this is the woman who delivered it. I then called forward the head laundress and my guard, Qin, who testified about the strange specific instructions to boil the medicinal tonic that Mei Lan had sent. I had used my foresight to turn her poison into her confession. She thought she was being subtle and untouchable, but I weaponized her own methods. Mei Lan's face drained of color. She looked wildly at Li Wei, who could do nothing but snarl in defeat. She is not a victim but a venomous accomplice, I declared, my voice ringing with moral authority. She weaponized pity and played the role of the frail lover while aiding a traitor and a murderer. She knew of the curse, the deaths, and the poison, and she actively participated in my planned demise. The revelation was too much. The cunning rival who relied solely on her feigned fragility was exposed as a monster. She collapsed to the floor, not in elegant distress but in raw, ugly terror. She was stripped of her title, her position, and her freedom, sentenced to the deepest prison quarters. A fate far worse than death, as she lost the status she craved. The Emperor's verdict on Li Wei was clear. Stripped of his noble status, his family line erased from all records, and his final punishment was to be carried out in a single devastating moment. The Emperor ordered that Li Wei be brought to the dais. And then the final supreme act of karmic role reversal unfolded before the entire court. Li Wei the traitor, the Emperor commanded. You sought to steal the dragon throne and murder the highborn to secure a false crown. Now you shall recognize the true authority you failed to depose. Li Wei was shoved to his knees before the Emperor and before Prince Jing, Shen Yu, who stood beside the throne, a figure of legitimate, unshakable power. The man who hid his royal lineage to climb the ladder of deceit was now forced to acknowledge the true king. He looked up at Shen Yu, his eyes filled with a helpless, burning agony. Shen Yu looked down at him, not with triumph but with cold, absolute disdain. I watched from above as Li Wei, the man who forced me to choose death, was forced to kneel. A public ultimate act of submission to the man I married and the power I secured. My vow, made on a rain-slicked pavement, was fulfilled. I had not only survived, I had ascended. The dust settled, not with a whisper but with the quiet, profound weight of finality. Li Wei was removed from the capital. His life spared only because Prince Jing deemed death too swift a punishment for a man who deserved to witness his own utter failure. Mei Lan was gone, her delicate mask dissolved into the reality of a life of hard labor and perpetual disgrace. The royal house of Lin, once nearly ruined by my naive choice, was now the strongest family in the empire, secured by the Imperial bond. 3 seasons passed. The political alliance between Shen Yu and me matured from cold necessity into a shared, unshakable purpose. We rarely spoke of the past, but the unspoken knowledge of what I endured and what I prevented created a foundation of trust stronger than any romantic passion. One evening I found Shen Yu in my chamber, not with a political scroll but simply waiting. The lanterns were low, casting the light of loyalty on his stern, handsome face. Ruyu, he began, using my name with a quiet ease that was new. The Emperor has officially named me Crown Prince. You are now the Crown Princess. I nodded, absorbing the news. My ascension was complete. I was no longer a pawn, but a phoenix on the highest branch. You have brought stability that no army could secure, he continued, stepping closer. Your courage in exposing Li Wei, knowing the cost, has saved this dynasty. I owe you more than a title. Your Highness, I said softly, you gave me my life back and the power to ensure my agency. That is more than any love could offer. He reached out, not with the formality of a prince, but with the genuine care of a man finally seeing his partner. His fingers gently traced the embroidery on my sleeve. When I looked at you on our wedding day, I saw a political necessity, Shen Yu confessed, his gaze intense. Now I see a woman who carries the wounds of betrayal and uses that pain as her shield. I see the empress this empire needs, one who values truth and justice above all. He took my hand, his palm warm and solid. It was not the breathless, consuming passion Li Wei had feigned, but the deep, quiet promise of unconditional protection. I offer you not a grand passion, but the loyalty of my heart, the stability of my life, and the promise that I will never hide a single truth from you, he vowed. May we build this dynasty on truth, Ruyu. Tears, long held back, finally pricked my eyes. Not tears of grief, but of profound, cleansing hope. I looked at the man who had been my shield, my strategy, and now my genuine destiny. I finally knew what true love was. Safety. I accept your truth, my prince, I whispered, squeezing his hand. And I offer you mine. Outside the window, the spring air was fresh and clean. The rain of my funeral was long gone. The man who tried to murder me was broken. The man who promised me stability was offering me his heart. The circle of karma was complete and I was finally, truly free. I had married the true king, and in doing so I became my own empress. Tell me which moment shocked you the most or touched your heart the deepest. Your subscription mean the world to me. They help me keep creating more stories like this. Please like, subscribe, and share. Your support keeps Lotus Tale Studios alive. See you in the next story.